What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 32 of my Tracksuit to the Top series here with Lewis FC in the Sky Bet League 2. Hopefully you guys are good. Today I have for you guys a epic live com against Notts County. They're 5th in the league. We lost to them 5-2 earlier on in the year. I want some revenge. Hopefully we can get it today. Before that, we've got to review the games and what's been going on at the club since the last episode. So the last episode was a little while ago, but it was the Swindon defeat where we lost 3-1 in the FA Cup. Since then, we've bounced back quite emphatically. We've got 3 wins in our last 5 and 1 draw. The one defeat came against, who was it against? It was against Tranmere at home, which is a little bit disappointing, but you can see here we started things off with a 2-1 win against Hartlepool. Cameron Stewart and Samuel getting the goals for us. Samuel also missed a penalty. Thankfully that didn't cost us too much there. We then lost 1-0 to Tranmere. Disappointing performance all round. Probably deserved to win it, but we've had a few of these games where we played better but we're just not clinical enough, and this was another example. I guess on the other end of the spectrum, we certainly were clinical against Exeter, where we won 6-1. We absolutely walloped them, and Alex Samuel got a hat-trick, which is not the first hat-trick he's got this year, but this guy has improved a ton still this year. 22 goals in 22 games of 8 assists. My assistant thinks he's a championship quality player. He's been incredible for us this year so far, and he's improving still, which is absolutely terrifying. His composure's improved. I think his off the ball has stayed the same, but he's improving as a player. And that's got to be worrying for teams we're coming up against. And he's kind of hit a bit of a vein of form lately. So that was a good win, that 6-1. We then won 3-1 against Bury. And again, Samuel and Stewart getting on the score sheet. Stewart's just had a lot of goals for us, this guy. 8 goals in 20 games from right attacking mid, looking like a fine free transfer. 6 assists as well, and he's improving. He's only 26, so he's got a good few years left in him, and he's been doing a really good job for us this year. So he's been a fantastic little buy. And then the last result, we did draw 1-1 against Torquay. They got a late equaliser in a game they probably deserved something from upon reflection. But nevertheless, it was a little bit disappointing, I guess, to lose 2 points and end up drawing that game. So those results leave us in an interesting position in the league. I should also point out there was another game set to be played, but it was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch at Crawley's ground. We've since now moved back into our own stadium, which is really good news. Our facilities are now sorted. We have the training facilities that we were building, so we have adequate training facilities. Poor youth facilities, but they're still being upgraded. Youth recruitment and and junior coaching are still basic, but that's better than what they were. And we're in our 4,000 all-seater stadium. So finally, the dripping pan, it's gone from being a stadium with a few hundred seats to being a pretty decent stadium for a club of our size, and we'll be using that. And to be honest, we're not close to filling that just yet. If I just check the Exeter game, it was at the Dripping Pan, and we had about 2,000 people for that game, so there's plenty of capacity yet to be filled, but to have it all seated now is really good progress. So yeah, that's that. In the league, we are fairly well off at the top of the table. We have that game in hand because I mentioned we had the waterlogged pitch. You can see Plymouth and Cambridge 1 point behind us each. Tranmere also have not played a game. Obviously, the game that we've got, I think, is against. Actually, I'm not sure who it's against. I can't remember who. It might be Tranmere, but I feel like I played them. No, we lost to Tranmere. I don't know who it's against, but it's not Tranmere. But Tranmere do have a game in hand, which if they were to win and we were to lose, they could leapfrog us theoretically. But all in all, things are going pretty darn good at the moment. Obviously, we're still top of the league. The league is still really tight. There's a little bit of a cushion to Notts County, 6 points there. If we could beat Notts County today, that would really extend it, and that's kind of got to be the goal. But yeah, things are going pretty good. And Cameron Stewart, you can see there on the player of the matches. Samuel, unsurprisingly, is top goal scorer in the league. And Kenji Gore, or Gore, I still don't know how to say his name. I should point out that a few episodes ago, you probably all wrote in the comments how I should say this guy's name. These videos are recorded some way in advance, so I don't actually know how to say his name. We'll just call him Ken. Why not? Why not? So anyway, he's on the assist charts, which is pretty decent, but Samuel leading the way in just the league as the best player the world has ever seen. And of course, he's on a 5-year deal now. If you missed that a few episodes ago, he's on a long-term deal, which is very, very pleasing because he's looking absolutely incredible. But anyway, there are a few injuries here and there. There is also one little bit of news, and that is that one of the African players who we signed at the start of the year, who was a bit of a punt, we've actually released. Manjant just didn't settle in England. He wanted to leave. No club was going to buy him because of his lack of a work permit, so we let him go. I also forgot to mention a few episodes ago about the fact that we've let a few players go out on free transfers. Ricky Banks, Mason Bush and Toral. Players who have been at the club for a little while, but they wanted to move on. Clubs weren't interested, so I offered to release them and they took it on mutual termination. You'll see a few players out on loan. Perhaps the biggest name here that might jump out of you being Muggeridge. He's on loan, or was on loan, but he got injured, so he's actually returned. But he actually did okay in the Vanarama North, but he's just not a League 2 quality player, and he's just not good enough for our squad, which is a shame because he's one of the players who was here when we first joined, but there's not a lot we can do about that. The only other bit of transfer news, and there's two bits here I guess, is Bradley Wright-Phillips had his loan terminated. He just wasn't playing any football for us. He wanted to move. He didn't score. He didn't really impress me, so we've let him go back to the Championship leaders, Leeds. And the other bit of news was Pierre Cisse, who was one of the African youngsters who I'd signed but wasn't joined until January, has joined the club. He doesn't have a work permit, which is an issue of course, but he's got good ability for League 2. Obviously, he's still fairly young. I'm hoping that he can continue to feature in the Ivory Coast under-21 side, and I'm hoping that he'll eventually get a work permit because he looks like a very good player. I couldn't see any of these attributes before. I was purely taking him on the punt because we didn't have to pay to get him to come. It was just a free transfer. And all I could see was the fact that he'd scored a decent amount of goals domestically and got some good assists, and the fact he was Ivory Coast's under-21's kind of first choice striker, which was kind of something that leaped out at me as something that might be worth picking up. Similar to this guy, Yobu, who I could theoretically just sign as a punt because he's going to be available on a free. Well, do you want to join? Do you want to join? You do want to join, right? 180 quid. If he turns out to be terrible, then we've lost 180 quid a week, which is a little bit in the end, but not masses of amounts. And for a complete punt, if he's as good as Pierre Cisse, you know, he's going to be useful even if it's just a case of selling him on. So that's a little bit about him. So anyway, there are all the transfers going on. There's no real injuries to tell you about. The only one is to Niall Keown, who's out for 2 weeks, which is a bit of an annoyance, but we'll get over it. Elsewhere, squad's looking fit and raring to go. Looking at the goal scorers, you can see obviously Alex Samuel leads the way with 25 goals scored in 9 assists. Cameron Stewart with 8 goals and 7 assists has certainly started to chip in. Jake Hesketh, who's been at the club a while, he's not playing so much football this year, but when he has been called upon, he's performed pretty well. 5 goals, 3 assists, a 7.09 rating for a League 2 player making his first season at this level is pretty impressive. But anyway, players in form, just a quick look. Kenji, you can see here, 7.7 rating, really impressive for him. Ben Bacon's performed well as well. He's improving a fair bit, to be honest. He's looking like a very good player, and if he can continue to improve, fantastic, because right now he's the only player who's really made the transition up the divisions as we've gone and really stepped up his game. And you can see here, this year, he's having his best year in almost, well, basically 3 seasons at the highest level he's ever played at, which is really impressive, and long may that continue, I guess. But anyway, let's get into today's game. It is against Notts County. Notts County were relegated last year, finishing 23rd. I think they were one of the favourites to get, you know, straight back promoted. They've got some very good players. As I mentioned before, away from home, we lost 5-2 to them, so they're very capable of beating us. But we're on some decent form. Granted, we have been struggling against the bigger teams of late. Obviously, we lost in a live com a little while ago now to Plymouth, quite humiliatingly 4-1. And we also obviously had results against Doncaster, Tranmere and Wimbledon lately that we didn't win. We have kind of started to get back in some form and start performing back at close to our best, so hopefully this can continue as we have a chance. Hesketh scores. Well, I drew attention to the fact he was stepping up, and he steps up here with his 6th goal of the season. 2 minutes into the game, a fantastic start. But yeah, as I was talking, and I mentioned, you know, we've had a few bad results in the last kind of few months, but things are looking a lot better now. Obviously, the Tranmere defeat was fairly recent, but stuff like the 6-1 win that we had has raised confidence, and we're performing better than we have been in a little while. Obviously, we started the season absolutely fantastically. I think we lost one of our first 13, and Hesketh has just snapped. Jake Hesketh, he's had enough. He's just scored his second of the year. He's whacked that in from outside the box into the roof of the net. Keeper has no chance. What a goal that was. Take a bow, my son. Bang. Bang. Pick that out. No chance. But yeah, all in all, things are going well. I feel like we're starting to get back to our best. Obviously, Samuel getting back in goal scoring form has been very useful. Because he did kind of, I want to say, fade away a little bit. He wasn't necessarily performing as you'd expect, and he wasn't contributing with quite as many goals as he had been, and Stewart was making a good contribution, but it just wasn't quite enough. But right now, we're playing some fantastic football here, and now Kilgallen has made a foul, given us a penalty. This could be 3-0 after 30 minutes, and this is looking like the Lewis that started the season. The Lewis that beat Cambridge, who were in the top 3, 6-0, and also beat Mansfield 4-0, who were also right up there in the table. This is looking good. Please bury this, Hesketh, for your hat-trick. He has buried it. That is a 28-minute hat-trick for him. He got his first goal in 1 minute 50 seconds. So, yeah, 27 minutes. 27 minutes for our hat-trick. Granted, the last one has come from the penalty spot, but nevertheless, what a game for him. A player who hasn't quite featured as much in the first team as he did last year, because we've obviously strengthened the side a lot, but today he's proving his worth and proving that he's still very much a valuable part of our team. Although Watson's just bounced back, and 3-1 is never quite as comfortable as 3-0. I almost feel like with 3-0 you're home and away, and kind of home and dry, I guess, but 3-1 going into half time, that's not quite so comfortable. A bit of bad goalkeeping there by Mullen, you'd have to say. I talked a little while ago about how Mullen wasn't on a full-term deal. A few months ago he did sign a full-time deal at the club. Obviously the club went professional, so he was eligible for that contract, and he got it. And he has been improving a lot since in training, but right now Notts County are on a fight back. Oh dear, this is not what we wanted. It's 3-2. I don't know if Mullen's to blame here. It looked a little bit suspect from what I could see in 2D, and he probably shouldn't be beaten when it's kicked that close to him, but he has been, and that's disappointing. And now a set piece. Well, clear that. Okay, we were very nearly at 3-3 before half time, which would have been mad considering we were 3-0 up. Maybe we can counter now. As I mentioned, the last game against Notts County was a 5-2 to them. So this game was kind of looking like it might have goals in it, but I perhaps didn't think it'd have quite as many goals as we have right now. There is another highlight here right before half time. This could be key whichever way it goes. 4-2 and 3-3 are very different scenarios for me to take my team talk under, but right now it looks like they might be about to play the ball through. As who is that at centre back? Borthwick Jackson deals with it to some extent, but now Lewis is through for them and blocked. A great block there. I don't know who that was. I think it might have been Muleba. What a block that was. Now we deal with the set piece. Mullen grabs that, and hopefully we can now just get in at 3-2 at half time. It's been a good first half. It's been a very close first half, and both teams have shown that they're really clinical in front of goal. You know, there's not been that many chances really, but a lot of them have been converted. As I mentioned, perhaps some suspect goalkeeping by Mullen for us, but we are still in the lead. Obviously, we did lose to these guys before. They're no pushovers whatsoever. Recently relegated. They're going to want to prove a point. This is going to be a bit of a test of character, I feel. Looking at the squad, players are fairly fit. I have noticed that Liam Walsh is struggling a little bit, so we might look to take him off in around the 65th minute. In fact, let's take him off now. Let's bring on we're going to bring on Ben Bacon. I'm actually going to move Hesketh to the advanced playmaker role and then just bring in Ben Bacon at centre mid. Hesketh offers a little bit more creatively than Ben Bacon, so that's why I'm moving Hesketh across to the playmaker role. But anyway, still 3-2, 20 minutes left on the clock. We're on the attack. Stewart gets tackled by Taylor. Big ball through. Deal with that. That's okay. Now we're going to build from the back. That is one big ball over. Options in the middle. Is that a penalty again? It is. Lloyd Jones, I believe the former Liverpool trainee there, committing the foul. And this is our second penalty of the game. Who is going to take this? I think it'll be Samuel, with a chance to make it 4-2. It is Samuel. Can he do it? He can't. Saved away by Howard. That is really poor. That is the second penalty he's missed in a few games, really. That's certainly the second one in about the last 4, which is disappointing, really. It's not the greatest conversion ratio. Might be something we have to look at, perhaps changing our penalty taker. But right now, let's focus on the present as we are on the attack. Gore's there, hits the post. No one's there for the rebound, though. And it's scrambled away to safety by Notts County. Looking at it, Hesketh obviously had a fantastic game, but no one else has really stepped up massively to the plate. Samuel's still on a pretty good rating considering that he hasn't done superbly and he missed the penalty. So I think we'll just bring on Brandon Barker to inject some pace down the left-hand side, having cut in on his right foot. He's been a very useful player for us, Brandon Barker. He's not kind of been quite up to the same level as Stewart when it comes to the impact he's had on our side, but he's chipped in with some very good assists, and he's a very good player to have come in on off the bench, particularly at this level, because he just possesses such great speed. We have a chance. It's Samuel with another chance to score. 5 clear-cut chances, and it's gone from being a display in the first half of clinicalness and a kind of, I guess, a how-to-be clinical lesson in the first half, displayed by both teams, to in this half, us just not taking our chances. Fortunately, time is ticking away, and it looks like 3-2 might just about seal it unless there's a very late sting in the tail. But this has been a bit of a great performance in the first half. About the first 20 minutes, I was, oh, what a block that is. That was actually a chance. I was almost speaking too soon. Just clear it now. Just clear it. That'll do. The referee blows full time. What I was trying to say was, in the first half, we looked superb for the first 30 minutes. You know, 3-0 up, home and dry, having a laugh. But we did not make that easy for ourselves. Going 3-2 down, or it almost felt like going down 3-2, but kind of going down from 3-0 to only having a 1-goal lead was disappointing. But fortunately, that block just before half-time made sure that we did just edge it going in at half-time. And in the second half, we probably did look the better of the two sides. But to miss a penalty and just to be not too superb in front of goal, I guess I've got a big thank you to Jake Hesketh for his performance there, because his hat-trick has really saved us. But anyway, let's have a look at the league table, see where things lie after that. So looking at it, we still have our game in hand. You can see Cambridge and Plymouth are 3 and 4 points behind us each. We do have that game in hand, which is very useful. If we can win that, you know, we increase our league at the top. So things are looking pretty rosy for us right now. Looking at the fixtures we've got coming up, we've got a few easier games to some extent. The Cambridge game is coming up. I don't think I'm going to live com that, just because we've got a lot of other big games coming up, like the Plymouth one. That's going to be fairly big. Mansfield could still be big. And also, it's quite soon. So I'm not sure. We might just be back for the Plymouth game, because we'll just see how things go. I guess Mansfield's there too. It's difficult to say because the league's so tight at the top that the whole situation could really change in a matter of 3 or 4 games. So I don't want to jump the gun and predict what game I want to do too soon. But anyway, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. We're off to a flyer this year. Obviously, there's 21 games left of the season. We're looking very good. Hopefully I'll see you guys for the next episode, and hopefully we'll still be in a similar position to we are now at the top of the table. So I'll see you guys then.